welcome to the Derek Show. And today I'm going to talk about building Marlin firmware again. So first I'm going to get a copy of the firmware from this website. I always use the default branch. That one builds for me, always builds for me. So I just want to show all the steps again because I know the last video I made wasn't that complete. Anyways, now once I find the right branch, download it as a zip file because don't want to change what's in the GitHub because it might break some of the build. All I'm going to do is use their source code and then make minor tweaks to provide the functionality I want. So I choose where I want to download the zip file to, give it the right name so that I know which one it is. Okay, saving it to my computer. Now the next step here, okay, so I saved it there. You can see it's there. So I'm going to extract the source code first. But I'm not done yet. So this thing's going to unzip. Now, I need special configuration files. You look here, that's okay, so that's the source code, that's the top level. And now I need to get the config files. The reason, now if you look here, I click on that link again, the branch, and it moves all the configurations here. So I have to download this. Again, I'm going to save it to my local folder. Here, it's there, see? Now I unzip it. So I'm unzipping now so I can get to the config files within. See, it's created a directory there as I wanted from the unzip, and I'm going to now show you what's in that zip file. Okay, but essentially the config files for every printer, 3D printer out there should be in that directory. So I'm going to go down again, and you can see it's actually in the examples. I didn't realize it at the time I did this, but there we go. So I go to Creality and I get mine, which is the Ender 5 Pro. And I use version 427 because I have the 32-bit main board. So I take these config files and I have to put them in my Marlin folder, but I forgot that when I shot this video. So anyways, it's a minor thing, so I didn't bother changing. So yeah, then I realized that's the wrong folder. So hang on. And this is the folder, the Marlin folder. So I have to overwrite those, right, with my Ender 5 Pro specific ones, and I do that. Now, I am going to, I open Visual Studio Code, my favorite IDE, and I go to my Marlin firmware source, and I open the folder, the parent folder, and here we have it. Now, as a safety, what I do is I save it, always save it as a workspace. So that way in the future I just open up the workspace to get all my project specific settings. So here I go, I just save it in the same directory. I just decide to change the name of the workspace so that's something I can easily remember or recognize. And okay, beautiful. Now I've opened the platform.io, but before I do that, I'll show you see. Now you need these three extensions as you see here to build it, right? Specifically the Marlin one, right? And sometimes even you have it, doesn't work, especially if you have other extensions installed. It might mess up platform.io and Visual Studio Code. So what you do is you have to go to this directory, users, your username, .platform.io, and you see all the folders here. This describes all the extensions you have. So if you need to clean your install Visual Studio Code to get the Marlin build to work, uninstall Visual Studio Code, delete these folders here. In fact, delete the whole thing, that .platform.io, and then reinstall everything, and it should work. That's what I did, and I was able to get here. So now I'm back in the platform.io.ini file in the Marlin root directory. And I comment out that one variable there for the environment I'm building. And now I'm going to search this folder for the example for Creality. So I'll look at Creality. That doesn't look like it, right? That's something else. I go, now this is the one we want. This is the one I'm after. So it'll tell me the name, the environment name to put in that variable, and it's this. So I'm going to copy and paste. The easiest way to make sure I don't make a mistake. Okay, so I go search with here, make sure there's nothing else. Okay, perfect. Now I'm going to go back to the top where it is, and I'm going to add again, and the default ENV this time I'm going to set to the Creality value. Now I'm going to save it and test to make sure I did everything correct. I'm going to do a quick test build to make sure this thing builds. I'm going to now, just for the sake of completeness, you can see everything. I'm get an idea how long it takes to flash new firmware onto your printer. I'm not going to skip through this build. I'm just going to watch it through, and you can see the output. It's going to take about 5 minutes. So if you want, you can skip ahead 5 minutes and see the end. But it's successful. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, it takes a while. We have some time, so I just want to say thank you for watching this episode. Yeah, like I said before, I didn't really explain how to clean your Visual Studio Code in case there was a problem when you're trying to build. So I wanted to add that in to make sure you had a complete video and you get a complete story, and you can see step by step if there's a problem, how to overcome it. I think that's more important than showing the perfect path, or the happy path as they call it in QA. Yeah, right now there's no problems, but if I recall correctly, we're going to get some warnings soon. So it's now building the .o with the object files. Here's compiling. Yeah, it's going to take a little bit longer. I realize it's boring, but at least you get a feel for the time. Like I said, you can probably skip ahead a minute or two and then you bypass this and you see success. So let's see. Let's see where we are now. Okay. Still compiling all the .os. Eventually get to linking things. But first we'll display any warnings. Yep, the yellow is the warning, but it's not, it doesn't stop the build, so it's okay. We keep continuing. Yeah, more warnings, but okay. It's still okay. It'll still build. And you can see green, success. So we built a new firmware. So that's good. That means we got the right source code and the right config files in there. So that's good. Now we can start making the modifications that we need to make. Okay, so let's pick up where we left off. So, okay, success, we got the build. We got ourselves a working firmware now for the Ender 5 Pro. Now the time is, I got to, let's see. Oh yes, now let's customize a little so that I know it's our build, as well as give us some basic features we can help with. Okay, where are we? Okay, this is the first one I want to change. This is the, yeah, author string who wrote it. So I'm going to put my name in there to indicate that this firmware has been customized by me, to prove that I can load it onto the printer. Here is another one I'm going to change to the custom machine name. This time I remember to, as you see here, this time I remember to be a good programmer. I put the comment there indicating I changed that line. So here we go. Again, I'm changing it to indicate that it's my firmware, nothing more. Of course, attaching the the date stamp, so I know that this is the one that's flashed onto my printer. This is a matter of preference. I like to turn on the the bed leveling thing that's included with the Marlin firmware. Just it helps, it brings the printer, the nozzle to the right positions for me to put the paper under, so I can check to see that my bed is level. And I'm trying to figure out which one, so I'll probably use the simplest one, which is the first. I think I just the one I chose. Yeah. So I uncomment that. I mean, yep. So I defined that, and I indicated that I uncommented it. So I put this code. So at least this way I'll have an auto bed leveling menu item on my printer when I go through the configuration. The next thing is a little bit trickier. It's the preheat settings. So I searched for a wrong keyword there, so I'm going to change to preheat, and that's, Got to go through a few of these first. So I'm going to add, excuse me, I'm going to add some settings here. And these ones are ones I found that work for ABS for me. So so I have this selection as well on my printer. Because at the time I wrote this firmware, I was fiddling a lot with printing with ABS. So make sure I know it's my ABS setting. Now I'm going to fill in all the different, change these values again, the index to be correct. These are the ones that work for me. Okay, and last thing is these PID values I got when doing auto PID tuning in the room I was going to print in, and I'm going to add them to my firmware as recommended in the auto PID tuning menu. I find I have to auto PID tune my printer whenever I change its location. It seems to be very sensitive to the ambient temperature in the exact environment it's in. So what I'm going to do is make sure the settings are stored in my firmware as well. So I'm just marking this original values here as irrelevant based on the room I'm in. And then I'm going to add in my own. Yep, so these are the ones I took from the room I put my printer in, the cold storage room. So the numbers are going to be different than what the original had. I add those in. In fact, it's significantly different. Okay, saving it. And I'm going to try to build again. Just want to show you what happens when I miss something. I forgot about it, but I press the build, but I have to let the build complete. Well, I'm going to let it complete anyways, so you can see. It'll show me the error, and then I'll fix it. Okay, so I don't just want to show the happy path, where everything works. I want to show the problem path so you can troubleshoot on your own, even after watching this video. In case something happens, you cannot follow the steps I followed exactly. So as you can see, when I get an error, the output gives me what the error is. So I searched for it, and now I uncommented that required constant. So now it's defined. So I marked that there also with my name, so I know next time this is the area I have to look in order to change. And as I uncommented both, I mark both, I save it. Okay, clean out the build terminal window, and I press that check mark again to start another build. There you go, it's taking some time to build. Yeah, I know it's long, but I want to actually give you a feel how long it takes to do this. So let it run through. Or you can skip ahead about 2 minutes and then 2-3 minutes and then you're on to the next step. Oh, it's linking up the building the .o file, so it's good. That's good news. We're getting close. Okay, still compiling. There's some warnings, but no errors as of yet. That's why it's in yellow. It's not red. Yeah, a few more errors. I mean warnings. Sorry, those are just warnings. Don't have to worry. Ah, see? Like I said, they were just warnings. Success. It says success in green. It's built. So it even tells me that if you look at up here, the top of the sentence, after linking, there's a line that's checking, then on building, and then it tells you the directory to find the firmware in. So that's where we're going to go in a few minutes. I think at this time I had stepped away from my computer, and that's why there's a little bit of a wait. But you can jump ahead maybe 30 seconds or so, and then we'll get to the point where I've copied the firmware. But I'm also going to show you, like, we can't just copy the firmware to the SD card. And I'm going to show you how to format the SD card to make sure the firmware will be read from it. Yeah, so here I got back to my computer now. I'm going to find the firmware in that directory that I said before. So look for it. So I start from my firmware source and then go to the .pio, and I go into that folder, just like it said in the build output screen. And there we have it. Firmware.bin. Okay, now I want to dump it to SD card. So let me first put the SD card and show you how to format it so that the firmware can be read off of it by the Creality mainboard. Yeah, so I just put it in. Okay, the firmware has to be the only file on this SD card. So yeah, I got to clean it. But also it has to be formatted the right way. So I go, and this is what I should have done first instead of wasting the time with the deletes. And so I'm choosing the format. I format 4096 bytes and FAT32 file system. Those are the two key options. Quick format is fine. Okay, so that's how you have to have your SD card set up before you can copy the firmware to it. Now, as you can see, I had printer print files on it, so mine was already formatted, but I wanted to show you anyways with the options. So now now that the firmware is on, the only file on the SD card, I plug the SD card into my printer, turn it on. So there's only my firmware file on that SD card, and then the printer will realize that, and then will just flash. It's taking a little bit of time to boot up because I have to it has to flash. So now it's done the flashing. Shows the Marlin screen. This happens, you have to do reset. So settings are stored. Now I want to show you that it's mine, right? So I had trouble finding the right. So as you can see, you look at my About Printer menu, the printer info, it didn't really get, you can't see the whole thing that I put in, right? So I go back to the info screen and still could get it. So I just decide I'll turn it off and on again. So I remove the media to make sure I'm not, just in case, but it only flashes if the firmware is as a more recent date on the SD card than what's already on the main board. So see, as you can see, this is the firmware it flashed before, and if you look at the line below, it will tell you the date, which you'll recognize when I put in the video earlier on when I was updating the source code for the Marlin firmware build. And there you have it. See? That's it. So thank you for watching this kind of like a revamped version of the original Marlin firmware build episode. But I hope this will give you better help in your future efforts. Last thing I want to add is that I got a lot of help from the breadboard.ca, so I recommend you also visit that site and watch those YouTube videos as well. I'll put the link in the YouTube video description. Okay, thank you very much, and take care, everyone.